You've heard of PETA, right? People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Well, not so fast. There's a group called PETAKillsAnimals.com. And the Center for Consumer Freedom, CCF, it's a nonprofit group, published documents showing that People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals killed a staggering 94% of the adoptable pets in its care during 2010. Despite years of public outrage over its euthanasia program, the notorious animal rights group has actually increased the number of adoptable animals it kills at its Norfolk, Virginia headquarters to an average of 42 pets every week. According to public records from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, PETA killed 2,200 cats and dogs last year while placing only 44 in adoptive homes. Since 1998, PETA has killed 25,840 pets. PETA hasn't slowed down its hypocritical killing machine, says Rick Berman of Center for Consumer Freedom, even as the group continues to lecture the American people with its phony animal rights message. It appears PETA is more concerned with funding its media and advertising antics than finding suitable homes for these dogs and cats. Despite its $33 million a year budget, PETA does not operate an adoption shelter. PETA employees make little effort to find homes for the thousands of animals they kill every year. Berman said, for the 12th year in a row, PETA's leaders have shown they don't care about the unlucky dogs and cats that come to its Norfolk facility. It's about time PETA's shelter, so-called, is reclassified as a slaughterhouse. The Center for Consumer Freedom has obtained PETA's animal record filings for every year since 1998 from the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Now, we've linked to their site on my social sites, and unfortunately we collapsed their server, and hopefully they'll reboot it and get it back going. It's back up. Okay, good. In 2010, PETA received 2,345 dogs and cats. 63 were transferred, 44 were adopted, and the rest were killed. That's a 93.8% kill rate. In 2009, PETA received 2,366 dogs and cats. 31 were transferred. 8 were adopted. I could get 8 dogs adopted in 2 days for a kill rate of 97.3%. In 2008, PETA received 2,216 dogs and cats. They transferred 34. They adopted out 7 for a kill rate of almost 96%. In 2007, they received 1,997 dogs and cats, transferred 35, adopted 17 for a kill rate of 91%. In 2006, they received over 3,000 dogs and cats. They transferred 46, adopted out 12, and killed 97.4%, almost 100% of them. That's not an adoption program, is it, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I don't quite get it. You know, they're out there claiming that you should protect mice and rats and insects and all the rest of it. So why are they slaughtering dogs and cats? We are going to find the people who run for the Center for Consumer Freedom who've helped expose this, bring them on the program next week, and have a little chat with them, what they think PETA is up to. But let me tell you something. You folks out there who find dogs and cats, and you shelters out there, don't give them the PETA. It's a death sentence. Yeah, all these Hollywood types, actors and actresses, all these wealthy people in the Hamptons and so forth, who think PETA is such a wonderful group. Maybe they can help explain this. Well, Mark, they don't have the resources. This is not a resource question. They're taking these animals in and they're killing most of them. That is a policy based on some knucklehead principle that they have that's perverse, and I don't know what it is. I'd like to find out. Mr. Producer, let's see if we can get somebody from PETA on here, too, because I'd like to get to the bottom of this, because it certainly sounds like their headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia, is a slaughterhouse. This group PETA, which is really a bunch of nut jobs, is slaughtering dogs and cats. I'll give you an example. In 2010, as I mentioned Friday, they received 2,345 dogs and cats. 44 were adopted, and 63 transferred, and 2,200 killed. That's 94%. The year before, 97% were killed. So they're not adopting these animals out, they're killing them. And I'll get to the bottom of this. I hope you'll stick with me. I'll be right back. From my buddy Jonah Goldberg. Oh, and Shannon Coffin. He was the one that reminded me first and showed it to me first. And apparently PETA is killing tens of thousands of dogs and cats. Rick Berman, Executive Director of the Center for Consumer Freedom, has been tracking this and exposing this. How are you, sir?
Very good, Mark. Good to be with you.
It's my pleasure. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Well, I could give you the quick rundown just by saying it's a bunch of lunatics. But,
yeah, we know that.
But, this is an organization, PETA, that picks up about $33 million a year. Their contributions come in a variety of ways, but one of the ways is that they go on TV and they show these very sad pictures of cats and dogs, and they give you the impression that they're all about shelters and doing something about rescuing these animals, adopting them out. But that takes money. And what has been found out, they've even gone to court over this, is that when they pick up animals from people's homes, people who want to find another place for the dog to live for whatever reason, they can't handle the animal, PETA says that they'll find an adoptable home for them, and they kill them in the van. And they make no bones about it. We actually discovered this by looking at their tax returns and saw that they had bought a freezer for over $9,000, and when we started to do some investigating, I thought, why would any organization like that need a freezer that big? And it turned out that that's where they were putting all of the dead animals, and they turn them over every so often. But the point is that they're killing well over 90% of the animals that are given to them that people think are going to be put into a better home.
Well, why are they doing this? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense.
Well, here's why they're doing it. It costs money to run a shelter, and they're not running a shelter. As I think you said at one time, they're running a slaughterhouse. And they're using the money for other purposes. They collect the money over these pictures of cats and dogs, and so guess what? People think that they're running a shelter, so they give them the cats and dogs, but they don't really want the cats and dogs, so they kill them, and they use the money for doing other things. For example, they're very much against medical testing on rats and mice and other laboratory animals like that, where researchers are trying to find cures for breast cancer, for Alzheimer's, for AIDS, birth defects. And these people have gone so far as to try and get people to boycott the March of Dimes and the Susan Komen Foundation. They try to get people to boycott these groups because these groups employ university researchers that are looking for cures for these diseases. That is a bigger part of their agenda than worrying about stray cats and dogs.
All right, so protecting rats, which are used, by the way, humanely in order to develop life-saving, drugs and so forth, procedures, that's more important than, they're killing animals in the vans. I mean, how do they square these things?
They kill them in the van. They actually found themselves in court because they had gone up into the Carolinas and they had picked up some cats and dogs from various parties up there, including a veterinarian who had just delivered a litter of kittens, which he said were perfectly healthy kittens. And they euthanized them in the van. They dumped them in a dumpster, and they were doing this on a regular basis. And some young fellow who worked for the supermarket that put trash in that dumpster saw these bags in there, opened them up one day, and found all these dead animals in there. Then they staked it out, and they found out that PETA was dumping them in there on a very regular basis as they made their rounds picking up these animals. It's an incredible story. If you go to PETAKillsAnimals.com, you can see it all there. They ended up in court. Of course, they had lots of money, and the people on the other side didn't. And long story short, they skated through that one. But the facts are still the facts. And it's just a terribly, terribly deceptive game. And by the way, they're not the only ones in this business who are deceiving the public. There's another organization out there that in some ways is actually guilty of a bigger scam, and that's the Humane Society of the United States. And people think that the Humane Society of the United States is connected to animal shelters, and they are not, and they are collecting over $100 million every year. These are people that put more money into their executive pension plan from the donations that are coming in, people think that that money's going to shelters. They put more money in their executive pension plan than they put into shelters. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is. If you go to humanewatch.com or humanewatch.org, you will see an even bigger scam than PETA. These people are on both sides of the issue. PETA.
Well, Rick, let me ask you this. Rick Berman, Executive Director, Center for Consumer Freedom. I want to save dogs and cats, and I give a lot of money to local shelters, the shelters that I know. I go to their adoption things, without making a fuss. I stand in the back and so. Is that the way to do it?
Absolutely. You have to give local. If you give money to the Humane Society for the United States, they have these ads, give $19 a month. Every $19 a month, 16 cents goes to a shelter. The rest of it goes. The Humane Society of the United States has a bigger staff than the White House. They've got about 30 lawyers on their staff. And, in fact, a number of congressmen have asked the IRS to investigate the Humane Society and to take away their tax exemption because they're not operating as a charity. It's outrageous as to what they're doing.
So people who want to help dogs, cats, horses, and so forth, they ought to find local shelters in their area. They can go visit them.
Yes.
And contribute to them.
And it is that simple. Or you can go to Humane Watch. You can find some shelters on there. But it is the most important thing that people can do with their money because it ends up in the place where they intended it to go and not into the pockets of people who, as I say, are either taking big salaries, pension plans, or putting their money into stuff that has got nothing to do with cats and dogs and shelters.
Well, this opened my eyes. I mean, this PETA thing. So all these Hollywood stars who are listening on KBC out there in Los Angeles, they're out there saying, "Oh, don't do this," and I'll bet a lot of them don't even know what's going on, do they?
Well, they don't. We ran 2 full-page ads in the L.A. Times a couple of weeks ago, and it created quite a stir. And the L.A. Times then did an editorial about it. And what they said in the editorial, they said, actually, we were right, that people give money to the Humane Society, or in our case here, they give money to PETA, and they think that something is happening with those dollars, which are totally different than what is actually happening with the money. And of course, you can make the case that every once in a while those organizations are going to end up doing something that's good or something that's right. But as the old expression goes, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And for the most part, these people should be put out of business.
All right, Rick Berman, Executive Director, the Center for Consumer Freedom, PETAKillsAnimals.com. Thank you, sir.
And don't forget HumaneWatch.com as well.
HumaneWatch.com. All right. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, take care. Now, folks, we still have millions of dogs and cats to save. So just be smart about where you contribute. Now, just so you know, I haven't done it for this reason. I know of at least one legacy gift fund that's completely on the up and up, and the money is used to save dogs and cats. That's the one with the names of my dogs on them. So if you want to help save dogs and cats, find out about your local shelters. And there are thousands of them, and they are absolutely wonderful with a zillion volunteers, some regular staff, and they have some overhead. They have to take care of facilities. Many of them have to pay property taxes, even if they're tax exempt, depending on the town. They have to pay for, physical shelters and so forth. So they have actual expenses. But you want to make sure they're not in these tall skyscrapers and everything else. If you can't find one or don't want to look, may I strongly suggest that you help us out. Go to marklevinshow.com and you will see the Pepsi, Griffin, and Sprite Legacy Gift. And that money is tax deductible, and that money is going to save dogs and cats. In our case, particularly older dogs. It's not going to anything frivolous. In the lost dog and cat shelter that I work with, I often go to their adoption events. I haven't been able to lately because I lost Pepsi and just can't. But anyway, and there are others in your towns and communities. So please give to these legitimate groups that really are tight on cash. We're talking about 5 or 6 million dogs and cats a year. But this PETA is a disgrace. I didn't know this about the National Humane Society. I'm going to have to look into this. But the Pepsi, Griffin, and Sprite Legacy Gift, you can link to it on marklevinshow.com. As a matter of fact, Mr. Producer, let's put that on the social sites. That is absolutely legitimate. And I have gone, as I say, gone to the adoptions, and I've given significant funds to them. And by the way, to several other shelters in my area, and you can do the same thing. Next time you see someone from PETA or a PETA organization, just ask them, why are you slaughtering all these dogs and cats? I mean, slaughtering them in the van, somebody turns them over, they assume it's going to be humane, they kill them right in the van. I wish I didn't even know that. It's going to give me a nightmare.